Also got to talk locations, you know, because if I'm getting stabbed right here, I'm wearing that shit, you know, I'm wearing it. But if I'm getting stabbed down the middle, through the spine, and Darth Maul, he was holding that thing in there for some time too, you know.
Yeah, it's Dover at that point.
He was holding that bad boy in there.
End of season 2, they're like, okay, you have to go to the mines and take a bath, and you know, this is your quest for the future.
Bring me back some bath water.
Yeah.
Some Bo-Katan bathwater. Judah would be all over that.
That is.
And welcome.
Wait, why is it just you and me on the screen? Oh shit, my bad.
And welcome everybody. Season 3, episode 1 of the Archives podcast. So Tebow back on the block, and we also have returning to the show. He puts the Vice in Viceroy. He is the red hat enthusiast. He is Van Seal.
I am a real American, fight for the rights of every man.
And also joining us, making his comeback, like the Undertaker himself. The greatest amateur chef in Alaska. We have the Juder, and of course ain't nobody cuter than the Juder. I am your host, Sotika.
Just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy.
Thrawn's back, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
The Empire's back, baby.
So
Fuck
the boys are back in town.
Yeah. I bet there's so many like pro Empire red hat wearers. They're like, hell yeah, brother! Empire's back.
Empire Day, I love it.
Yeah.
Greetings, Padawans, and welcome to the Archives. Here to unlock this holocron is the man of the hour, Jedi Master Sotiko.
Bosha, what is good, guys? It is your boy, Sotiko, and we are joined once again. He's back from 9 vacations. You know him as Bolter. You other folks know him as Evan Furry. It is Bolt 23! And he is back.
Guys?
We're really excited. Yeah, how many?
I'm so glad that I have no trips planned for a whole month and a half.
How many vacations? 7? 8?
I don't know. There was Louisville. If you guys followed my pod, you saw that I dropped a little pic out at the Louisville Slugger Museum from there. There was Disney World. We went to Galaxy's Edge. It was so much fun. I actually went on 2 different days. It was awesome. And then I guess there was another trip, but I can't remember what that was.
You beat up a bunch of little kids too.
Oh, whoa! Hold on there. Hold on. That's too far.
That's what I said.
No, I mean, I guess there's also that long work trip of despair, I guess.
But we're back.
Yeah, we're back, and Battlefront 2 is on.
Yeah, it's just mindlessly keep on living. Enjoy your gameplay that you're going to stare at for the next 45 minutes to an hour, because we know how science works. We are scientists. And you're stuck now. You are in the loop. And
hashtag this is science advice.
This is. But what a place to be, because today is the first episode of 2026. It is the first episode of season 4 of the Archives podcast. And moving forward, we're doing things a little differently in the season structure. And it's something that I'm pretty gassed about too, because it's just going to be crazy for organization. So this is the season of movies. And next season, season 5, will be all about TV shows. So on and so forth. And of course, we're going to have emergency pods when things come up, when things are massive. You know, when Mandalorian and Grogu comes out, that'll get its own podcast, I'm sure. Because I know Bolt is on one side of the political spectrum, and he's very like anti anything Disney Star Wars right now, because he is such a right-wing leaner. But no matter...
Hold on. What did I ever say? I don't like anything. Hold on. I gave Andor extremely high praise. Hold on now. I gave Andor extremely high praise. The only things I disliked were things that were just not well made, or just clearly did not understand Star Wars, at least, or not interpret Star Wars the way that I do. Like Acolyte. I did not like Acolyte because of many of my political views. I didn't like Acolyte because Acolyte just wasn't a good show by all accounts. What is this man talking about? I do not want to politicize Star Wars. If they politicize it, I don't care which way to politicize it. I don't want them to politicize it at all.
You rage baited, buddy. We got him, guys. It worked. It's too easy, man.
Rage bait successful.
I'm telling you what. If you convince someone that this guy's right wing, he'll go crazy on you. He does not like being called right wing, and it's quite funny. It is quite funny, but I'm really excited for this portion of the podcast. Like, it's an idea that I've wanted to do, just so that there's a nice chronological bit of what is to come, and gives people an idea of what they can expect in the entire season. I feel like that doesn't happen too much. But yeah, I mean, the episode listing is quite easy. This is a 9-episode season, so it's going to go really quickly. But we're going to be talking about simply the Star Wars movies. So no Rogue One and no Solo. Rogue One's kind of going to get its own portion as part of the Andor episode of
whenever we talk about Andor in season 5, I'm sure Rogue One will get its fair share of discussion.
Right, yeah. All of Andor will go together, and we're going to peg Rogue One in with Andor, similar to in the future when we get shows like Maul Shadow Lord. When that show comes out, we're going to go ahead and talk about Solo then, because that's all going to be part of the same sort of collective, and I really look forward to it. I look forward to, Clone Wars. Clone Wars will have to be broken up for sure, for just how long it is. But you kind of get the idea, you kind of get the sense, and at the end of the 9 movies, we'll probably do a episode 10, just so it's a nice round number. We'll talk about the movies to come and everything that we know and everything moving forward. But as of right now, the next 8 episodes after this one. So I really hope you guys enjoy. Let me know how you feel about the format. And yeah, anything else that you want to insert there, Bolter, before we tuck into some Phantom Menace shenanigans?
Nope. Sounds like a good way to start the year.
I'm really hyped. Every year around Christmas time, I like to do a Star Wars rewatch, and getting to start that with something as sick as the Phantom Menace, it's really the best. And the cool thing was, this year when I threw it on, my little nephew, who's never seen Star Wars before, was really intrigued by the pod race. Because he loves like race cars and stuff. And he thought the pod race was so sick. Like, he couldn't stop looking at it with his mouth agape and just enjoying everything. The fast pace, action. It was just so cool to see. It was so cool to see because it feels like I'm passing something down on to him. And The Phantom Menace was maybe the biggest Star Wars movie for me, because growing up, I was born in 97. So growing up, that was one of the two movies that we really had on VHS. Didn't have the original 3 on VHS, like, ever. Never had the original 3. But had Phantom Menace, and Qui-Gon Jinn was my guy. I got his little Hasbro lightsaber, and my brother got Obi-Wan's, and my brother's not even a Star Wars fan like that, but our outdoor activities in the summer would typically consist of either Jedi lightsaber battles or Nerf guns versus lightsabers. So it was really fun. It was really fun, and Phantom Menace was a big part of that. Like, Phantom Menace, I think its legacy more than anything is its ability to merchandise and market, because it had a really big responsibility to restart the Star Wars saga, and I feel like it just did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I mean, Phantom Menace, I mean, it gets a lot of hate. I mean, as we'll get to see in a few episodes time, for as much hate as it received in its time, I think the sequels have maybe made people forget that it was actually a bad movie, and it made people become quite fond of it now. Once they saw how bad Star Wars could really be in more recent years. I mean, I've never taken a very I guess I'll say I've never taken a highly critical approach of movies in general. I've kind of discussed this before. I kind of just want to sit down and enjoy a movie, and if I can find it reasonably entertaining and it doesn't feel like it trips over itself constantly, then it's, in my opinion, a solid movie, right? And I can usually separate out, like, say a good movie from a great movie, but I couldn't tell you exactly what it is. Phantom Menace is a good movie, right? It's a fun movie, and so long as you aren't telling stupid stories, especially in the Star Wars universe, I'll be a happy guy. I just like seeing Star Wars. So it's a fun movie and I enjoy it, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, so I'm going to go through the entire happenings and events of the movie. And feel free to hop in and offer commentary at any point, but it was a movie that I think needed to happen for sure. It had to set the core, it had to world build, and you get so much world building just from the title crawl alone. The Phantom Menace was, for everybody that says that it's a dog water movie, which you get a lot. Like, people think that the sequel trilogy gets a lot of hate, but growing up, the Phantom Menace got as much, if not even more.
No, I don't think any of the actors from the sequels had the thoughts that Ahmed Best unfortunately had following Phantom Menace. So I'll say they probably got a little bit less hate than Phantom Menace did.
Yeah, it stinks, man. It really does stink. But we're gonna kick things off with the opening crawl, where turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic. The taxation of trade routes to outlying star systems is in dispute. Hoping to resolve the matter with a blockade of deadly battleships, the greedy Trade Federation has stopped all shipping to the small planet of Naboo. While the Congress of Republic endlessly debates this alarming chain of events, the Supreme Chancellor has secretly dispatched 2 Jedi Knights, the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy, to settle the conflict. So
Further, I'd like to say that was an excellent grenade throw.
That was. Right then and there, you get so much world building because nothing
Oh,
right there was going on in
It is
episode
all
4, 5, and
unfamiliar.
6. All of it. All of it. You learn about the foe pretty quickly. It's the Greedy Trade Federation. You
well,
understand...
the foe.
Yeah, you understand what they're doing, and you understand who it's affecting. And then we don't really get to see what a Jedi Knight is until right here, where one of the first, scenes is 2 Jedi Knights going about Jedi business. And you don't know what the heck to expect. Because prior to that, the only Jedi Knight that you really ever saw was Luke Skywalker. And the ideals, perhaps, of Obi-Wan Kenobi. But that's it. So this is it. And how poetic that the 2 Jedi that you get to see is none other than Obi-Wan Kenobi. It just all comes back and circles with each other. And I just adore the placement of things, right? You have Obi-Wan right where he begins. He's still a Padawan. He's fairly ready to go, but you see those same traits that Luke was experiencing. That lack of patience. And I think that goes back to... I think it was in Empire Strikes Back when Obi-Wan is telling Yoda, like, he will learn patience, just like you taught me. And it's just one of those subtle things that you wouldn't even think of. Something as little as a character showing patience, right? But that's truly the core testament of what it means to be a Jedi. And it's something so little, but you get to notice it and you get to see it so quickly.
Yeah, I think one of the beautiful things that I think doesn't get appreciated enough is that George Lucas, when he made the original movies, left himself so much room to expound later.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they reference... Sorry. Man. Sorry. They
sick.
reference... I think he references within, the first 20 minutes of A New Hope, the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Hold up, the what now?
You
Right.
fought in the Clone Wars?
And all this stuff, and expanding on all these characters and all these ideas that we don't really get to see. And he talks about the Jedi Order from a more civilized age, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we instantly are put into the last days of a more civilized age here in A Phantom Menace, right? It's like, oh yeah,
Yep.
we're gonna go in and we're gonna just have these talks, and they're gonna be like, oh okay, cool, and then we'll be all chill, and then all of a sudden it's not, and now the course of the galaxy is forever changed by this interaction, right?
Yep.
If it's not for the Trade Federation of blockade of Naboo, then we never get this whole string of shenanigans that lands with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan with the Queen of Naboo on Tatooine finding this random slave boy who turns out to be the chosen one, right?
Not
Like,
just
that
the
shit
chosen
is-
one, turns out to be her soulmate, like that,
Well,
her husband.
We're not gonna talk about that part yet. No, so I think it's really cool that he left himself all this open space, and he's like, let's go fill that in now. Like let's
Yep.
go and like fill as much this in as we can. And again, he didn't have anything to work off of. He was just kind of like, here's a thing I said, and let's go add some backstory for this thing I said.
Yep.
Right? 15 years ago, and it's super sick.
Yeah.
Actually, more like 20 years ago plus.
The
Depending on
gall.
when the movie is released.
The gall to work backwards is just nuts to me. Because you could go forward if you want to, pal. You can make it so much easier. You can do Heir to the Empire. But no, he he decided, no, we need to tell, this story has a captivating enough beginning that this is going to be it. And how fitting that the original title of the movie was called Star Wars The Beginning. No Opinion, thank you for the $10 super chat. Let's go. Big appreciation for that. Thank you very much, dude. But No Opinion also says, you know, we were talking about the sequels and the hate that they got. The sequel actors are better as actors. I will give you that.
Yeah, that's agreeable. Even if they were not directed into playing excellent roles of good character depth, they are better actors. I will agree to that. Certainly I mean, dude.
But
Oscar Isaac is a phenomenal actor.
Right. And that's not to say that the actors in the prequels are slouches. I just want to point that out too, because
And Natalie Portman's a good actor.
Natalie Portman's fantastic. Ewan McGregor's incredible. Liam Neeson is incredible. Samuel Jackson is incredible.
It's a shame we didn't get more Liam Neeson.
It is. Sir Christopher Lee, incredible. Frank Oz, incredible. Ian McDermott, incredible. Like, these are generational actors that came from a generation prior that led the way for the generation that we got. So it's not to say that they're slouches at all. It's just, hey, John Boyega, Adam Driver, Oscar Isaac, these guys are thespians. These guys are here to act. And I've not seen a bad Adam Driver performance. I've not seen a bad John Boyega performance or Oscar Isaac performance. Everything that they're in, they bring in. I've seen a bad Daisy Ridley movie. I'll be honest. I've seen.
I love how all the movies. We were going through a list of all the actors and you're praising them, and the only two that didn't get praise from either trilogy is like the main protagonist of the trilogy.
Well, that's,
you didn't praise Hayden Christensen and you didn't praise Daisy Ridley, who are the two main protagonists, which I think says a lot about the supporting cast and then the main protagonist actor of the film, which I think is hilarious.
I've not seen. I really can't think of another Hayden Christensen movie that I've seen. I also liked Rey. I also really liked Rey. I think that Daisy Ridley was so good as Rey. But
well, I don't think she was bad as Rey. I just think Rey was poorly written in a lot of places.
Sure, but like at the same time, I don't mind her writing at all. I don't, because it's a chosen one story, and it was different. The issue is everything about Rey was tough. It was really tough. You know, I'm writing a revisionist book. My book is very revisionist. My book does a lot of things to aid a character. It's kind of like a lifter unit in Swigo. That's my book. It's doing a lot for Ben Solo. It's doing a lot for Luke Skywalker's legacy. I think that Rey was badly written. I agree with you. But I also think that the entire portion was disjointed, whereas in The Phantom Menace, everything felt very smooth. Everything felt smooth. Like, you knew who was what, you knew where they were going, and everything was clear. That's what I loved about it the most, because it was a first episode of a trilogy. And it was able to keep things on the straight and narrow, where other first episodes of a trilogy can really try and just do too much. And while you could say that The Phantom Menace did a lot, I don't think The Phantom Menace tried to do too much. I just think it was a lot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was being Star Wars. And oftentimes, I think we all forget that, man. I think we forget exactly what we're talking about. And I don't think that there's a story that embodies what Star Wars is more than The Phantom Menace. You meet the Jedi,
Yeah.
you see the politics, you see the corruption, you see it in action. You get the ground war, you get the war in the stars, you get the action,
Yeah.
you get the drama, you get the slow moments, you get the fast moments. There's lightsabers, there's blasters, there's droids, there's good guys, there's bad guys. And in the end, it's everyone fighting for a like-minded cause that, you know, everyone's just trying to do the right thing. Even if they're doing the wrong thing, to them, it is the right thing. And that's Star Wars, man. It's exactly what Star Wars is. And I just think that The Phantom Menace, for a first movie of a trilogy, they do such a brilliant job setting these things up. And I'll tell you what, like, it's probably the movie I've seen the most, not just because it's like one of my faves, but anytime you start a rewatch, you start with the number one. So I feel like you're always going to have that fondness to the number ones, whether it's A New Hope, whether it's The Phantom Menace, whether it's The Force Awakens. These number ones have this natural growing and just strong, I don't even want to call it nostalgia, just because what it is just brilliant, man. Like, who would have thought after watching episode 4, 5, and 6, George coming back 16 years later to work on number one? Who would have thought? Who would have even imagined pod racing?
No one. It's like I said, he was like, I'm gonna say some stuff, and then I'm gonna come back later, and I'm gonna actually make that stuff real. Then I'm gonna put it on screen, dude. The gall, like the absolute absurdity of he's just like just a throwaway line of, oh, you fought in the Clone Wars. Like I said, excuse me, the what? The Clone Wars? And he's like, yeah. And then, you know, and he goes out and he's like, how do we make a bunch of clones of a dude? Well, let's just do stormtroopers. Let's CGI them, and if we have to show their faces, we just CGI the same guy's face onto like 50 million things. It's like, what? This was not thing other people were doing. This was a purely George Lucas and ILM thing.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, is Star Wars the Star Wars we know and love if ILM doesn't exist?
No, because
Not by a long shot, I don't think.
for ILM not to exist, that means that Star Wars doesn't exist, because George, it's all George. Like, it's all his brain, all his idea. Like, it just fascinates me that in my eyes, like my personal belief, Star Wars is so underrated for everything that it's done. And all of that really culminated in The Phantom Menace, because George had to go out and create all the hardware, all the software to put his vision to use and to show exactly what this universe looked like. And The Phantom Menace was the first example of that. I mean, you brought up Ahmed Best and Jar Jar Binks. The first computer generated character to be on a project in a movie. And it's like, you don't even think, oh, this guy's CGI. You don't even think it, because he just fits in so well. It takes my breath away. It truly does. Anytime you see him, and even like Jar Jar, when he was made in, what, 1998? Like,
Yeah, that movie would have been being made in 98 because it came out in 99, yeah.
it's insane, and it's so good, yet sometimes it still feels kind of dated. Like, that's how good it is, but you still don't even think one way or another that, oh, Jar Jar's not even a real living thing. Like, Jar Jar's not right there. It's crazy. It's such good quality, and that quality would not exist had it not been for the Phantom Menace and George Lucas. It just would not exist. So
Yeah.
I always appreciate the Phantom Menace externally, outside looking in, but even the story, I think the story is so fun. It's about two Jedi Knights that are on their way to be a peacekeeper. And even that ties back to what Obi-Wan called the Jedi Knights, you know, keepers of peace and justice in the galaxy. Well, now you get to see an example of this in the flesh happening right before your eyes. And you can see, like, these are just regular people. They just happen to be touched by the Force. And it just shifts your perspective so much, because you have these larger than life entities, Jedi Knights. And you see Luke Skywalker in action. You see Luke do so much good, so much great. And sometimes you separate part from the whole, and you realize, oh, this is just a human being. This is just a person. And I think Phantom Menace did a really good job in showing that, where people have thoughts, feelings, and a Jedi is not just going to separate those two. Which I think was ultimately not the downfall of the Jedi, but it sure helped. It sure helped, because they were kind of living in some really crummy times, and that gets shown off pretty initially. The Jedi's personal cling to power, and Mace Windu is a really good example of that. And I think Mace in The Phantom Menace was a character who, if you don't put the rest of his pieces of work together, like, you wouldn't even think one way or another about him. Like, he's just a headmaster. But in The Phantom Menace, you kind of see the hints of jealousy that emerge when Anakin comes, because you know that Mace wants the Jedi for himself, because you know externally, you know what his motivations are, and you can just see these things. And I don't think that they're accidents. I think George sees these things, and he directs you one way or another for a reason. I think he's a very intentional director, and just above all else, like, everything that he does is for a reason. It was like that in American Graffiti. It was like that in THX 1138. He's a very, very intentional director. And I think the first episode of a new trilogy, you kind of have to be super assertive. So I think a lot of why people were the way that they were was on purpose.
Yeah, and I think kind of taking it back to that whole point about how, like, oh, you know, we created this fantastical imagination of a Jedi Knight, right? You know, he's the only Jedi Knight, and you know, we see that he is this utter hero for the rebellion, because there is no one who is capable of doing what Luke Skywalker, right, is capable of doing. And then we kind of bring it into this new trilogy, in this almost new galaxy, right? It's the same galaxy, but it's so different, and where there's tens of thousands of Jedi, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, yeah, they're just going on just like a boring diplomatic mission.
Yeah.
Like, it's like this is their role in society. You know, Luke Skywalker had a very fantastical role in society, being the only Jedi Knight, right? But now we're here, and there's thousands upon thousands of them. They're just diplomats. They just go out and just be negotiators, right? For galactic peace, right? It's completely different. And it's super intriguing to see. So again, like I said, just right off the bat, he's already asserting the differences between the galaxy that had been come to know, you know, in the late 70s and 80s, in the early 80s, and then the galaxy that he's building now. So just excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent way to start a story, like you said.
So our Jedi Knights, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, They board the Trade Federation ship to meet with Newt Gunray and try and force a settlement, force a treaty, get these guys away from bothering the Naboo. And you know, the Trade Federation are feeling one kind of way about that. They were assured by Lord Sidious that they'd have protection from all that was going on right here, and that the Jedi wouldn't get involved in this. They had assurances about it, and yet here the Jedi were on their ship, and this was not at all part of the plan. So fast forward, you know, a few minutes, we have the Jedi on their way to speak with these guys, and they try and kill them with dioxis gas. And that is the first, that's like the first shot of the war, trying to kill the Jedi, because now that, hey, that is Pearl Harbor. The Jedi are involved now. It's go time. This is it. So Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon make their way to the bridge, where we get to see some really cool Jedi things that we really haven't seen before. We get to see just how hot a lightsaber is. It can cut through things, including a blast door. So it shows the strength. It world builds some more world building. And if you know me, I love world building. It is my favorite thing. Fill up a world with lore and I will devour it. So the fact that we got some more tidbits about just exactly what a lightsaber is capable of, it just makes your imagination stretch thin. Like, what else can you do with a lightsaber? It puts you in the story. It does a real good bit of self-insertion with the imagination. And I'm sure, like, growing up, I'm sure that you had similar thoughts of, like, what could you do with a lightsaber, right?
Oh yeah, it's like, what? So well, if you can do that, like, what can you do? What is the, or maybe not even like, what can you do? What can you not do?
Yeah.
Right. I think it's more intriguing when one of the first things you showed being done with a lightsaber is just cutting through a door. You know, like this, like, door is obviously meant to keep you in permanently until that door is open.
Mm-hmm.
We're just like, oh yeah, we just cut through. We just walk right on through. It's like, what can you not do with this?
Yeah.
Right. Especially because I can't remember. Had we seen? Did Luke block Force lightning with it?
No.
Okay, so we're eventually gonna get to see it block Force lightning.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many things that are like, dude, this is sick. Like this is a sick weapon. And then, you know, you get later in the movie, you could have a double.
Yeah.
You could have a 2-blade one. And it's like, well, it's like, or you can it's like you can duel these things, and then they add freaking, you know, you've been playing General Grievous, bro. You have a guy with 4 arms and a lightsaber in each hand.
Yep.
And then you know, hey, love him, you know, love to hate this guy. Paul and Krell, 2 double-bladed lightsabers. As much as we all hate Paul and Krell, that's sick. So, no, again, it's immediately opening up this, like, oh yeah, by the way, those laser swords you thought were cool, I'm making them cooler.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make you buy even more of these.
And you know, it worked. I had a Darth Maul dual blade. Me and my buddy Jacob, shout out to him. We'd play Star Wars almost every time we hung out. We were either playing Star Wars or playing sports, sometimes both. I had a Darth Maul dual blade. I went over to his house. I was obviously being Darth Maul, but we'd also just come up with random names. So who knows what I was doing. But I was running through his downstairs to go outside with it and caught the blades on the door and just absolutely pulled the entire lightsaber apart, breaking it. Broke my dang heart. But the dual blade, dude, I'm a big fan of dual blade. I'm a really big fan of it. I think it's super sick. I think it's so offensive. And we see that a little bit later on in the movie, Because when we originally meet Mr. Maul, he's rocking just the single blade of his double blade. So he's doing homework. He's testing, hey, how does this Jedi fight? Because I'm going to handle him later. I will be back. And I will have my vengeance. So the thing that I also really liked too was how it really felt like Qui-Gon escaped Maul the first time. But I don't want to jump too far ahead because guess what? The Jedi end up escaping the Trade Federation ship aboard the landing crafts of the droid army, where they go down to Naboo, and they're in the jungle. They're in the jungle of Naboo, and they run into a creature who Bolt has said some very, very distasting words about the actor who portrayed this really fun
I didn't
character.
say anything bad about Ahmed Best. I just said that it's very unfortunate that Ahmed Best. I said no. In fact, I said I felt bad for Ahmed Best about what he went through playing this character.
I was talking about the things that you're saying off screen, off recording.
Yeah. Oh wait, what?
Yeah, the opinions.
Have I ever badmouthed Ahmed Best?
A couple of times.
Back. We love Jar Jar Binks. I don't think I've ever badmouthed Ahmed Best. I don't think I've ever seen Ahmed Best in anything I didn't like.
I'm really excited for next episode. That's all I'll say. But we do see Ahmed Best at the very end of this movie, in a couple of forms, which is really cool. But we meet Jar Jar Binks, who is our introduction to a talking, sentient humanoid that is very, very fun. Very fun. We love Jar Jar Binks.
Funny.
He's fun. He's a fun guy. Potentially a Sith Lord.
Potentially a Sith Lord.
I don't want
He's a Sith Lord.
Yeah, I don't want to rule that out, but he is definitely potentially a Sith Lord. And he is the key to everything that happens, which is very fun. He helps the Jedi get back to the Naboo by bringing them to his underwater village that is perfectly represented, which is just nuts to even fathom once more. A underwater species, bro. And it's just like the most beautiful place that you could even imagine. It's a dreamlike place. And it's such a fun part of the movie in my opinion, in my perspective. It's such a fun part of the movie. Because where the hell else are you seeing an underwater village with a race of alien that we've never seen before? And I hate to use the terminology again, but Bolter, this is some great world building, bro.
No, yeah, I mean, whenever you... Again, like, I think sometimes we forget, especially me being, you know, not... Like, dude, my parents were not even married yet when this movie came out. That's reference for how young I am, bro. I am an infant in comparison to Star Wars, bro. Like, Star Wars turning 50 next year, dude. Like that's crazy to think about. We are now in 2026. A New Hope turns 50 next year. I remember like it turning 40 and being like, whoa, that's a huge deal. As huge of a deal as, you know, 11-year-old me could think. But like, that was a huge deal. And so, like, and you look at this, I think we kind of forget because now we live in a world where CGI is so much more where CGI is common, right? Where, you know, as little as, 10 years after,
A New Hope, you're getting movies like Avatar, right, where like 80% of the movie is CGI characters, right, and you have just such a wealth of CGI, right, because the technology got to the point where this can be done reasonably now, right? So now we have movies, we have the animated films of today where it's entirely CG, right, and it's impressive.
Yep.
So I think we kind of forget sometimes how out there and how groundbreaking and how difficult this was to do previously and how phenomenal it was that we were able to achieve then. Like, I think we forget that sometimes. We discount that, like, hold on, no, this was done in the 20th century. They were doing this, and this is in that they had this idea, and they're like, yes, we are capable of executing this. And I think it's when it gets overlooked, and it's amazing. And again, I think there's so many times that we like just skip over things like we kind of take Star Wars as a universe for granted and forget that someone imagined all of this. Someone thought, what if I had this planet with a silly name, and there's two completely separate societies. There's a society of largely humans, but then some other aliens here and there, but it's largely human society. But it's in general a humanoid society, a normal humanoid above ground society. But then we have this underwater, and it's all one species, and they're completely different, but it's an entirely underwater society, right? And they are completely separated from each other. They don't really get along. Like, that is such a cool idea.
A beautiful idea. And the way that they made it work, the visuals, the story aspects of it, really just...
It also plays into some more, into micro politics as well. You don't just have the macro galactic politics, you also have micro interplanetary politics as well, which is something we hadn't really seen it yet in Star Wars either.
Mm-hmm. And again, it wasn't just done, it was done well. And that's something that I can really appreciate, because George's philosophies on politics are all very, like, they're all very humanity based. They care about the human, and that's really what you see in the Phantom Menace with the ongoing turmoil. It's very appropriate in the times that we're going on, where if they do something to us, they're just going to do it to you as well. You must see that. And for, the Naboo to go out and reach out to the Gungans, like, I feel like that's a massive thing, because that's just like you asking your bitter rival for assistance because you're being invaded, and if we don't work together, then they're going to slaughter us. It is up to us working together as a last resort to do this. And it worked. It worked. And it was breathtaking in how they were able to show just the cultural differences and exactly what had to go on to make this work. In the meantime, we get to meet a pretty important character, pretty vital character to the story, in Queen Padme Amidala, who at the time was the elected queen of Naboo. Padme is someone
Thank
who...
you, George Lucas, for again introducing just... Dude, the costuming? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about the costuming yet, bro.
Oh,
we got to see...
I just want to give a big shout out in chat. We have Natalie Portman fan 1817. Big shout out.
Really?
Yeah, big shout out. Natalie Portman is perfect as Queen Padme Amidala. And we agree. I don't think that anyone else could have played that. Genuinely. We had the podcast a year or so ago about if I'm forgetting her name, but the lovely lady who played Elizabeth Turner in Pirates of the Caribbean, who played Sabe, I believe, in The Phantom Menace, if she could have played Padme, But truly, I think that, and George even said it in all the making of films, this role was written for Natalie Portman. And I truly think that no one could have played this. Keira Knightley, thank you, Noah. Keira Knightley. I don't think anyone besides Natalie Portman could have played Padme Amidala. She is just so goated. So goated. But as you were saying, the costume design was... I don't use this term, so you know it is when I use it, but it was peak. Those were just insane. Every scene seemingly was something different. And not just different, but it was just like so in tune with the theme of what was going on. Whether she was on Tatooine, whether she was on Naboo, whether she was on Coruscant, she dressed for the planet that she was at, and the costume design was just second to none. Like even Qui-Gon on Tatooine with the sick poncho. I loved it. And the world felt so lived in. And that's something that I feel like it doesn't get enough plotted for. The world felt so lived in. You had so much going on.
They added again, like I said, we had the macro, all like intergalactic, interplanetary, across a whole galaxy, politics, right? We have the politics of all these, different, I guess, like cartels and all these different political factions. But then we go into a planet and we have inside, and we have that planet's own geopolitics. In the same way, we went in and was like, I'm gonna make this very beautiful culture. If it's a very small planet, but they are very like in touch with like nature, and they are artists, right?
Mm-hmm.
These scenes were filmed. Naboo was filmed in Italy, right?
Yep. Lake Como.
The palace is a real building, right? And these are real places, and they are beautiful, right? Stunning. And so also, it's stunning the places he was able to find that on Earth that are so fantastical that when you tell me that this is of an alien world, I just believe it, and I don't even realize for a second that I'm being shown something real. And when you can do that, it's phenomenal, because when you have the capability to show someone something real and say, and put it in a fictional universe, and me forget that this is a thing on Earth, that's a talent. And that's honestly impressive, because what that says also is in your visual effects of things that aren't real, that there is not enough of a discrepancy between the two to where I don't know anymore. And that's almost a tad scary, but it's also amazing and beautiful.
Yeah, and that's the thing that like I'm trying to hammer home too, is none of those skills that you're talking about, they didn't exist. They had to be created for this. And this was their first test. This was their first, this was the guinea pig. And it worked so well. Like, I have zero complaints about... People always bring up the fact that, like, this had more actual sets. This had more CG. I don't care. Like, show me what picture it is in your brain that you are trying to create, and then just do it. I don't care what means you need to create the vision. Just do it. I want to see your vision. Do it as well as you can portray it. And I have zero complaints, because how could you? Genuinely, how could you? And I think the thing is too that it didn't even use that much CG for the actual sets, because like you were saying, a lot of it was just filmed on location in many different planets. Like Tatooine is Tunisia. It's the desert in Tunisia. And Tatooine is still there. Like, you can go there. It's just not a great place to go to. Shout out to Tunisia though. If you guys want to take care of us and send us, we'd love to come. But We'll do a show live from Tatooine, huh? What do you say? But just the fact that they were able to incorporate those tools that they had to create themselves, I think is just brilliant, like you were saying.
Yeah, if you wanna push this story along. I think that's all I got for this section at least.
For sure. So they get to the Queen, and C.O. Bibbles, which is a character I really hate. He's the it can only mean one thing: invasion. I've always hated that guy. Never liked him. Never one bit. He opts like, hey, you must not leave, but you know, the Senate needed the Queen, so Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and we get to also meet the goatness of R2-D2. They end up escorting Queen Amidala back to Coruscant, but all of a sudden their shield has been hit. The shield generator's been hit. They have to send out a whole host of astromechs, but the one that ultimately gets the job done is code R2-D2, Your Highness. And R2-D2 gets cleaned up. He gets that nice fresh coat of wax. Feeling good, looking good. They end up having to crash land, essentially, on Tatooine because they don't have enough fuel. The fuel's leaking, so the hyperdrive won't be able to make the jump to Coruscant. And they go to Tatooine because it is not controlled by the Federation, but is controlled by the Hutts. And as soon as they get to Tatooine, they come across a boy. And this boy just so happens to be A New Hope. This boy just so happens to be the chosen one. And initially, Qui-Gon Jinn is very adamant about Anakin being the chosen one. And he bringing Anakin back to the Jedi Temple with him. Now, my question for you. This is a very, very, very controversial question, because a lot of people have different takes on it, but how do you feel personally about the Jedi adopting children, essentially, and taking children to the temple?
I really thought you were going to ask me about midichlorians. I think this is something I'm definitely going to want to tackle whenever I get to that portion of my book, which that will be in the first book, so it's something I'm going to have to figure out how I want to tackle relatively soon. But no, I think it's a very interesting thing. I think it's not like they're kidnapping them,
No,
for the most part. And we've seen that certain societies have, you know, we see in the Clone Wars that, you know, whatever species it is, it's like in season 6, and like Jar Jar's low-key like freaks with them low-key, and like they like him a lot. I don't know. That was an interesting arc. Anyways, but they don't become Jedi anymore because they're like, they don't let the Jedi come take them, right? So I think so long as I think it's like, you know, it's rough, but it's like, so long as the parents are like willing and accepting, it's like it's kind of okay. Like,
yeah,
I think from the standpoint of the Jedi, they are. It makes complete sense why it has to be so young,
mm-hmm.
For a multitude of reasons. I don't know.
Reasons that are a little newer, to be honest. Like, it wasn't always that way for the Jedi. It was just like an adopted teaching, closer to Yoda than to like Bane. If that makes sense, because Bane was about at the turn of the millennium, and Yoda was not far off Bane. that's something that I feel like people also don't really take into account, because the end of the Jedi Sith War was the Sith, destroying themselves with a thought bomb from Darth Revan, and for the next almost 1,000 odd years, the Sith really aren't taken into account, because like the Jedi witnessed their destruction. They were there for it. They saw it. And this movie is so massive because this is the Sith back. The Sith returning. And I think somehow they survived 1,000 years in silence.
They returned.
Yeah. I don't think we've genuinely just had a sit down about the sequels. I look forward to that. Episode 9 of this is going to be so sick, guys. You guys are going to want to tune into that for sure. Because, again, Bolt's got these right-wing ideals that you guys are not going to want to miss.
I don't know where that's going to come into play, but sure.
I'm really excited for it, but... No, we get on to Tatooine, we meet the Chosen One, and we see... I figured that this would be your favorite movie based on the pod racing.
Just because I'm wearing a McLaren F1 shirt right now does not mean that I'm all into pod racing.
I think it does.
Wait, does my... Oh my gosh, I'm just now realizing that this shirt matches this hat. That's fire. They're like the same shade of like forest green. No, if I had to say, just because of the nostalgia hit that I get from it, my favorite movie has got to be Empire Strikes Back.
Think so?
Yeah, I mean, and my favorite of the prequels is for sure Revenge of the Sith. But I do quite enjoy this movie. Like I said, I don't have a very high standard for a movie to be good in my book. If I can be entertained by it, and like I said, if it doesn't stumble over itself, which I don't think this movie does at all, then I can enjoy a movie, right? If I can just sit down on a Friday night and enjoy a movie, it's a good movie.
Great movie.
And not have to think about it too much, and not feel like, yeah, well, this is kind of but I can get over it. It's like, no, if I don't have any of that, then it's a good movie. I enjoy it a lot. Pod racing is fun though. I don't think it's necessarily an unfun concept. I also love that it later gets explained in some other stuff that pod racing legally kind of iffy. Mm-hmm. So I like that kind of fun part of it, you know. And again, it's George Lucas going back to a thing he knows.
Yeah,
it's racing, bro. George Lucas grew up in an era where, you know, you just race a guy, you know, down Main Street, you know, in your nice old, you know, cars, dude. And dude,
for the love
beautiful.
Of the game.
And for no reason other than for bragging rights,
yep.
The love of the game, and, you know, maybe a hot chick seeing you in your fast car drive by, right? Being like, I want to get with that guy, right? Like, just purely for the love of the game.
That's what Bolt loves in a guy, a great car.
You know, I was just telling my sister today, because I was going out to pick up food with my sister, and we had to get gas for a car, and I was like, I hope one day I own a car that needs premium gas.
Yeah. I've never understood the difference between premium and normal. I think it's just like some level of something, but I'll learn it one day, when it matters.
It's the level of, I believe, never mind. I'm not a petroleum engineer. I'm not going to speak on these things at the moment. Anyways, pod racing, really sick. Very excited for. Is it Galactic Racer?
That's the one. I was going to ask you about that. Are you getting it on the PC or a console variation? I don't know what your console situation is.
My console situation is I currently have an Xbox One that I haven't turned on in probably a year and a half.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably going to get that game on PC. NGL. I'll see if my girlfriend wants to play it at all. I'll see if she's into racing games. I think she used to play a racing game, but I think it was like Mario Kart.
We'll be lucky if I'm talking to a girl by the time that game comes out.
You are going to have a woman pregnant when that game comes out.
Oh my gosh! Please no.
Unlucky pal. I don't make
Please,
I,
no.
I don't make the rules. I just tell the stories.
That would be a 2026 twist. I don't
Yeah.
think that would be on anyone I know's bingo card for me for 2026.
You go on all these vacations, it's bound to happen. I'm just saying. But I could definitely see that this.
I'm not even going to begin to unpack that.
You go on a lot of these vacations, man. You're a man of the people. You're a man of the time. You take trips down the icy slopes. You're a party guy, big party guy.
Big party guy right here. Big party guy.
They kicked you out of the. I'm not gonna go that far, but
If you're gonna say club or casino, I still can't go to those yet.
No, they kicked you out of Canto Bite. This guy's a big party guy. But no, Galactic Racer is gonna be sick. I'm sure that we're gonna sesh that game when it comes out.
In an unhealthy way, probably.
Yeah, maybe we'll do like not a what is it called in racing? Not a speed run, but just like I don't know what it's called.
Race.
Like best lap, best time type beat.
Time trials. Just grind up time trials. No, if I can hook up my sim racing setup to that game, it's over for me, bro. It's gonna be over.
Yeah, we'll do like an archives podcast. We'll do a giveaway. We'll give away a hat or something to whoever posts like the best time on a race or something like that. We'll do something of that nature. But yeah, we will be there. We will be there for that game for sure. Especially because it is crossplay. I'm just realizing.
It is.
So
Thank goodness.
yeah,
Thank goodness.
we'll see.
Is that maybe the biggest flaw of Battlefront? That it's just not crossplay?
That and like giving up support on the game because it could have been so much better.
Well, that just happens with too many games, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Stop killing games. Let them live. Let it go. If you don't want to develop anymore, let it go open source. Let people self-host. Let people just develop stuff for it. Stop holding on to it so tightly. Just let the community who loves it enjoy it, please. Stop killing games. All right, soapbox. I'm stepping off of it.
No, I'm like that too, and I'm like that with the Phantom Menace, man, because like there's so much that I'd love for the current regime of Lucasfilm to tackle, and we've recently been getting a lot more Qui-Gon stuff. I really look forward to reading the Padme Amidala book trilogy. I can't wait to read that. That's gonna be so sweet, so sick. And yeah, there's just I want more prequel content. I really do. And I think a lot of that is to do with just how full and how rich that the Phantom Menace was. Truly. We're here on Tatooine. We have the pod race. We see that it's ran and controlled and presented by the Hutts, The 89th annual Boonta Eve pod race brought to you by Hut Spice.
Why has Stream Elements not popped up that random message about
Sebulba
blowing a 39.86 second lead? Isn't that the number? You have it like down to the hundreds of seconds.
Yeah, I personally timed it. It's 36.23 seconds. He blew a 36.23 second lead to Anakin Skywalker, the little white boy from Tatooine. And he did it. And he did that, man.
Down and hit that frame by frame analysis.
Dude, it was just like those things matter. He's the only human that could do it. The only one besides Revan that could successfully win at these pod races. And I googled it. Those pods were moving at 855 miles an hour, dude.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Is that just not the fastest thing you've even ever fathomed? In a race?
In a race, yeah. Not the best thing
Apart
I've
from
ever
like,
had.
apart from like, I know you're going into it. I don't want to spoil it because you've told me about it, but the racing that you're looking into. But even that's slower, no?
Well, I think that depends on where it's taking place, and slower is relative, right? Because if I like, for example, if I were to put you on, say, a go-kart track, but in like a full-size car going 60 miles an hour, you're not gonna have a lot of time to make those turns, right?
Right.
And so the same thing when you're winding through these narrow valleys, even doing that at 800 miles an hour or whatever it is, that seems a bit fast, just because then you'd be breaking the speed of sound, and that has a whole lot of things. And I don't think you could really safely break the speed of sound in an open air vehicle like that. But that's a whole another suspension of disbelief conversation that we're not going to get into.
That's why Anakin had that really cool helmet on.
Really, yes, that, and you're pulling a lot of G's, and those were not G suits. So I kind of doubt some of it being
Maybe the air on Tatooine allowed for that.
maybe. Anyways, but again, that's a whole separate conversation. As to the
No, that's
realistic
that.
practicality of that.
No. This is the Phantom Menace episode. We're having that conversation. So tell me about these G-forces though, because I genuinely don't know much about G-forces.
Okay, so G-forces can be experienced in. Have you ever? Okay, I'm sure you have. Okay, so for example, at Disney World, right? They have a ride called Mission Space, and there's two different versions of it. Basically, the idea of the ride is you are it's very simple, but it's for the most part a movie where you occasionally press some buttons to interact. Of you going to Mars, right? And there's two options. You can either do the green one, or you can do the orange advanced one. And the orange advanced one, what it does is it sits you in the rig, and then it spins the rig around. And it spins the rig around so fast that you actually are pulling a consistent 3 Gs throughout the entire takeoff sequence.
That seems like a number.
Yeah, so when you experience 3 Gs, so 1 G is what we experience normally here on Earth.
Yeah.
So 1 G is, so when you experience 2 Gs, everything is now double the weight. So something that...
Okay, so this is like force mechanics.
5 pounds? Yes. So something that weighs 5 pounds, if you're experiencing 2G, that thing now is going to feel as if it weighs 10 pounds. So now lifting your arm takes considerably more effort because now your arm feels heavier because you're experiencing G-forces. So an F1 driver, for example, will at times experience upwards of, I believe, like 6 or 7 Gs. Sorry, but that's legitimately how much they experience. And they're as they're going through corners, and they're experiencing every single direction. When they brake, they're experiencing heavy Gs, pushing them forward. You know, when they accelerate, they are being pushed back in their seat, right? You've probably experienced this as you accelerate. If you accelerate quickly in a car, you kind of get pushed back a little bit. Some of that is, your inertia, but some of that also is going to be G-forces as well, very light ones, but even still G-forces. And you can experience them laterally, like getting thrown side to side, right? Which is why race car drivers have such large necks, right? Because they have had to increase the strength of their necks to be able to hold their head stable against these G-forces that would be throwing them around. So pod racing, and racing in general is an athletic sport. So for Anakin to be doing this as a 9-year-old boy shows what an absolute freaking unit he was as a 9-year-old child. Because fighter pilots regularly will experience upwards of 9 Gs, which is why G suits have to exist, because otherwise, basically the idea of G suits is G suits will be applying pressure to your body, which they act almost as like an external heart in some cases to continue pumping blood around your body. Because otherwise, blood can get rushed to just a specific part of your body, which can cause you to pass out. So it ensures that blood continues to be circulated properly throughout the whole body. G's are no joke. And so the faster you go as you're taking these different directions, especially sudden changes in direction, or sudden deceleration or sudden acceleration, is going to cause some extreme G-forces.
Sure, yeah. I get that now.
Yeah.
I mean, Anakin's just.
There's your science lesson today for the kid. There's your science lesson for the day, kids.
Anakin's the greatest of all time is basically what we're.
Yeah, pretty much.
What we're acknowledging here.
You're a 9-year-old freaking pull 9 G's and just say whatever.
Yeah, 1 G for every year old. And then you have to remember that he himself is a G because he was schmoozing with Queen Padme Amidala, asking her, "Are you an angel from the moons of Iago, I think? I hear the deep space trade pilots talk about them sometimes. They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe."
He does later get to meet one, doesn't he?
I think so, but we have to also give a shout out to Jeffrey Epstein, dash I.
You cannot ever open.
In chat, he says, "What's up?"
That is evil. That is an evil username to have to read out on live stream. Why do people do this?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's diabolical.
He's a real estate entrepreneur. What are we doing?
Yeah, real estate. He has a very particular real estate that we should be concerned about. Well, he did, past tense, since he's no longer alive.
Anyways,
that you should cut that from the VOD later, please.
no way,
Good
man.
Lord.
No way.
Good Lord.
Hope everyone's doing well. If you guys have any questions, by the way, we are going to get to a mailbag seg in a little bit. If you guys have any questions, but Anakin wins this sweet pod race, and he gets some prize money, some gambling money, some gamblers, and Qui-Gon, big gambling addict on Coruscant, basically puts the livelihood of, the Queen of Naboo, pretty much essentially becoming, funny enough that Jeffrey Epstein's here, but a slave. And he puts a lot on the line for this, but as you see with the chance cube, he does indeed make his own luck. What?
Continue on, please.
He's not going out like a sucker. So big quags, as they call him at the temple, big quags.
Qui-Gon Jinn, hitting the Qui-Gon Jinn, bro.
Exactly. He's a very, very gambling Jedi. He loves gambling. And they won. They beat Watto, who only money. Watto's an interesting guy too, and I'm glad that we back. We're back. Had a little internet flare there, guys. My fault. I'll edit that part. Not the Jeff part. Good to see you here, Jeff.
Oh my God.
I appreciate any viewer, bro. I don't care who you are. Just shout out. Thank you for coming through. So Qui-Gon takes Anakin from his mother. 9-year-old boy leaving home for the very first time. It's really, really tricky one. It's a really tricky ordeal to kind of even go into the headspace of a kid, 9 years old, leaving home for the first time. Like, how would you handle that, Bolt?
I can say how I handled it the first time, being away from home at 13. Not well.
What was that like for you?
I was a goober, bro. I was a straight menace to myself, bro. I did not sleep at all, and then I was miserable, dude. I was a mess, dude. I did not know what I was doing at 13. This kid's 9 now. Granted, he's got it kind of figured out a little bit. Like you said, we already said this guy's an absolute freaking unit.
Yeah.
And also, when you lived a life you probably already had up to this point, you're probably a bit more locked in on some of that stuff, anyways. But when you literally are having the interactions that this man is having with people like Sebulba,
yeah,
you're just like, yeah, don't mess with him. As a 9-year-old, this is just proof that Anakin is just bro was built for a life of hardship on the streets. Bro was ready, and he just they're like, yeah, let's go make you a Jedi. and I don't think bro ever lost that. Like, you look at the Twilight, dude, that is the most unglamorous thing possible. And Anakin was just like, yeah, I rock with this. I'll make it fine. I'll make it my baby, right? Anakin's a great character because of that.
Yeah, going into the talk about Sebulba and all, right before the Phantom Menace occurred, Anakin, his boy Kitster, his boy Wald, who was the Rhodian that was celebrating with Kitster, who doesn't get named, they freed slaves, like not a week before the Phantom Menace happened. And for Anakin to then be freed himself shortly thereafter, and his mother having to stay back, that's a tough scene, man. That's a really tough scene. To be separated from your parent, not because of any which way, besides you guys are slaves, and no pod is worth 2 slaves, not by a long shot. So that was some more world building too. I know I keep going in on world building, but you just kind of get the idea of what the galactic economy was like, how much a slave was worth in the Star Wars universe. And
I guess another question is, man, do you think it was ever a conversation of, should we just for our own conscience, should we just go free her? Like,
I think
there was ever a conversation that was had between anybody that was like, hey, can we just, like, this just feels kind of wrong. We kind of just took this kid and just left his mother to kind of figure out as a slave. That's, like, technically illegal. Like, that's.
Do you want my answer to that question?
Yes, I want your answer to that question. It's a very unfortunate question, but it's a question that probably should be asked.
It
might be worth discussing.
This is a personal headcanon too. I think that was pillow talk between Qui-Gon and Shmi. They stayed the night. That was a very small place. It wasn't a big house at all, and they had a lot of people to home. So I always headcanon that Qui-Gon slept with Shmi that night. I'm not saying that they made love. I'm just saying that they slept in the same bed. And, Liam Neeson's that ponytail probably had some mustard behind it. He was probably... I'm not saying that Qui-Gon banged Anakin's mom, but I'm not saying it...
Thank you. You were scaring me for a second. I was like, hold on now.
I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're realistic. We don't all think the Jedi were actually all celibate by a long shot.
Oh, they weren't. Like, you see that in all the comics and all the books. Jedi going down to the lower levels of Coruscant to satisfy their needs, but technically, like, sex is not forbidden, just attachment is. So as long as you're doing it with someone that you're not going to ever see again, that's how the Jedi viewed sex. And let's be real as well, you're telling me that there weren't any beds creaking in the Jedi temple?
You said this before.
Like, shout out to our Mormon fans. Mormons soak, bro. Like, there's no...
That's not all of them. It's not all of them. I'm not a Mormon, but from having talked to them, I can assure you it's not all of them.
Well, not all are gonna admit it. I'd hate to admit that I was soaking.
It's mostly the younger generation.
And I'm telling you what, there's a lot of Jedi in the temple at the time of the Phantom Menace. Maybe the most Jedi ever. There's I mean, how did we get Grogu? You're telling me it wasn't Yoda and Yaddle?
Yeah, but like, that could have been like a Kiadi situation. Like, let's be real here. Like that one could have actually been. That one might not have been.
Kiadi Mundai is a generational liar. Like, we know he's a liar. His entire character has changed for me ever since his appearance in The Acolyte, because what do you mean the Sith have been extinct for a millennium? You know about it. You know what's going on, pal. He's a liar. So that Seven Wives shenanigans, like, he was just getting busy. Let's keep it a buck. I'm not a big Kiadi Mundai guy anymore. He's been spoiled a couple of times for me. I'm not gonna lie. But that's suffice to say.
What about the short attack on the Wookiees?
Yeah, you're gonna go help him out, buddy? You're gonna wait until the last minute?
Because you just absolutely annihilated Chewbacca as I said that on my screen.
He shouldn't have been standing there. Was that
Chewbacca or was that just some default Wookiee?
Oh, that was Chewie.
Let's go.
Yeah.
No, but man, this is not Star Wars the Archives podcast. This is Star Wars the ADHD podcast, Loki.
Oh, we're just vibing. We're having fun. What's a structured podcast? That's a podcast that you tune out of. I hope you guys are listening. I hope you guys are having a good time. We have a lot of concurrent viewers right now for us, so I appreciate everyone that's here. Appreciate everyone that's listening. You guys are the goats. But as I don't even know what the hell we were saying, but Qui-Gon Jinn may or may not have been sleeping with Shmi Skywalker. And to answer your question, that's what we were talking about. I think that was pillow talk. Like, yeah, of course I'll come back and free you. Now, free them titties.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying. Like, was this Liam Neeson? Perhaps. It could have happened, and to say that it couldn't have would be ignorant. Like, who's to say?
Give me the NC-17 takes of Mrs. Doubtfire.
Deadass. Like, who's to say that Qui-Gon wasn't about that John? But
man, can you imagine Robin Williams in a Star Wars movie?
I think he'd be a really good droid.
Oh my gosh, he would be a phenomenal droid. Although, I don't know, we might actually just have to let him just be Robin Williams on screen, because I feel like we've already had the just beautiful sassy droid in C-3PO. And I feel like
a droid or an alien, he'd be so good.
He would be. Dude.
He'd be so good. I'm trying to think of an alien, but maybe even like a Toydarian. He'd be so fun as a Toydarian, because he'd do such a funny voice.
No, he would.
I'd love
make him a.
I'd love to. As soon as I get to heaven, I'm gonna ask Robin Williams to do a Toydarian impression. That's gonna be like my third thing that I do as soon as I get up there. It's gonna be on my wish list when I get up there. When God's like, all right, so what do you want to do first? Let me go shake my dad's hand. Let me go try out the mocktails that I know that they have. And let me ask Robin Williams, hey, can you do a Toydarian by chance? And I bet he hits me with the craziest one of all time. I'd never use AI to bring someone back to life, because that's so effed up. But I'm sure, I'm sure people would do that in a different mindset. But Qui-Gon Jinn, did he sleep with Shmi Skywalker? That's a Star Wars theory for you. Who knows? Who really knows?
That's just a theory.
Yeah. A Star Wars theory. I loved game theory back in the day.
Thank you for that iconic line, Matthew Patrick. Thank you. I'm AI. Thank you, Blake Ward. Ben.
He is AI. Blake Ward is AI. Screw you, dude.
Yeah, that's fine.
AI
we
nerd.
We don't serve your kind here.
We don't serve your kind here. No droids.
No droids.
That guy's name.
Oh,
that guy's
man.
name was Wooster. I'm pretty sure.
We love the Glup Shido names. We love them.
We love
Steel Bibble
Tatooine.
might be an all-time Glup Shido name. Especially for a human too.
Yeah, I agree. Bit like character design, costume design, all that. Like he is everything that's wrong with Naboo, dude. Can't stand that guy. But
Man.
I will say that I think, to finally answer your question, I think yes. I think Qui-Gon would have, if he survived, go back. I think he would have gone back and freed Shmi. Anakin wouldn't have known about that conversation. Neither would Obi-Wan because he was on the ship. So Anakin wouldn't know of a promise to come back and free you. Obi-Wan wouldn't know of that. So Anakin then wouldn't really hold that in. And I'm sure that we had something that I'm able to do in my book is like the last conversation between Leia and Han and Ben Solo before Ben goes off to the academy. And it's a really tricky one because that's a tough conversation to have as a parent, like to reassure your kid that it's not anything to do with you. It's simply to give you a life that I can't give you. And that's exactly what Shmi Skywalker did. Anakin was a slave. There was no... When you're a slave, you're a slave. Like, you physically do not make enough money to be able to afford to buy your freedom. You physically do not. So you kind of had to get lucky. And Anakin got lucky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Anakin are introduced to a Sith Lord as they are trying to make their way back. They fix the ship and they're on their way back. They're interrupted by Darth Maul. And at this point we see Darth Maul with one lightsaber. Anakin, drop! That scene was so sick. I can hear the speeder in my mind when I think of that scene. And just the, like, that is the first time a Jedi, before the Acolyte, had seen a Sith in a millennium. So much so that Ki-Adi-Mundi says that's impossible. They've been extinct for a millennium. Of course, we know he's bullshitting now in hindsight, but...
Or that whoever made Acolyte was on something and didn't care to check for continuity because we didn't really care about making something a good quality piece of Star Wars, but oh well.
We digress.
More like I digress.
Yeah. Freaking...
I digress of my apparently right-wing opinions about that show.
Thank you. I can't stand the right wing and their self-asserting politics, dude. But here we have Anakin Skywalker standing in the Jedi Council chambers. It's a very scary place when you're all by yourself. And it's a very scary face when you have the Master of Disaster, they called him, Mace Windu, right? The scariest looking SOB, the most intense. Like, you would not want this guy in your face. I'm trying to remember where he's from without looking it up, but I am just going to look it up for time saving sake. Mace Windu, Jedi from There's no way that it doesn't have it on StarWars.com. I have to go to Wikipedia for this. How incredible is that?
StarWars.com, what a bum website.
Harun Call. He's the hammer of Harun Call, they call him.
That is a banger name, bro. What?
Yeah. He's the hammer of Harun Call. And the most intense SOB in the Jedi. He's the number 3. He's the number 3, but God, does he feel like the number 1 at times. The only 2 people who rank ahead of him would be Ki-Adi-Mundi and Yoda. Simply based on seniority, really. But Yoda is kind of like the good cop to Mace Windu's bad cop until Ki-Adi-Mundi asks, "Your thoughts dwell on your mother?" And Anakin goes, "My thoughts dwell on your mother." And the Jedi Council goes crazy. Like, ooh, burn, got him. And this was like really when it was a really pivotal point for Anakin in his character arc, you know, because we see that he's not going to take no ish from anybody. But for real though, we see that Mace Windu has a no-nonsense feeling towards Anakin. Like, it's not going to happen, pal. You will not be trained. The code forbids it. You're too old. And you see where the Jedi are at in their mentalities. You see how locked into not changing that they are. And this was, hate to say it, really good world building. Really good world building. How did you feel about the Jedi and their eventual progression, even into like Clone Wars?
I mean, I think you could have a very long talk about, you know, where all they went wrong, right? There's so much to dig into that I just don't have time for today.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at the end of the day, the Jedi became very legalistic and were just blinded by a multitude of factors, right? But they had become to some extent arrogant, and that they just felt like, you know, we have all this power, right? Even if they didn't seek power, they were aware of the influence and power that they had over the galaxy. Even if they chose not to necessarily exercise all of that power and influence, they knew that they had it,
Yeah,
right?
for
And that they
sure.
were capable of doing that. You know, if they wanted to, they could have completely co-opted a takeover of the Senate at any point if they really wanted to, if we're being realistic. Right? You know, you bring them all to Coruscant, you can. And they would have enough people to support them, but if you start a whole out war, they would have been fine, right? You get the point. So kind of coming into this here, right? They're faced with this, like, this child who had, because ultimately he is a child. No matter how mature he is still a child, right? And you have this child who you're seeing has phenomenal power, right? This phenomenal power that is the greatest that you have ever witnessed, right? This Jedi who you have, who is the Grand Master of the Order, who is 900 years old.
Yep.
Has a theoretically lower power ceiling than this guy. I mean, theoretically, he should have a lower power ceiling, right? According to what they understand, the midichlorians, which again, the whole midichlorians conversation. Look, love or hate the explanation. At the end of the day, when you're writing science fiction, space fantasy, whatever, you're going to have a tendency to want to explain things, and you're going to want to world build and expound on things. And that was the explanation he came up with. If you don't like it, come up with your own headcanon and ignore it. But that's what he came up with, and I'm not gonna ever fault. And I'm never gonna hate on, and I'm gonna just commit to not really hating on someone for having a dumb explanation for something. because at least they're willing to explain it, especially if it's something that's like really out there to have to try to explain in the first place. So, but he has this great cosmic power, and you're kind of, and I don't necessarily blame him here, because you're kind of sitting there like, I don't have full control over. I mean, this is gonna sound very cynical and dystopian view of the Jedi. I don't have the power to influence the way that this kid thinks. He's already got too many of his own freeform thoughts. He already has all these attachments that have been made. All these thoughts he's already made about the galaxy that we haven't been able to influence yet. And that sounds really, really grim and dark, but when you understand the kind of power and the kind of potential that you're talking about, you understand why that actually is quite important, why that's actually maybe not so grim.
No,
because we can see later what happens as a result of that, right? Because he is willing, because again, we see what he does when his mother dies, right? The absolute, he goes on and just, the genocide might be the wrong term, but he goes and slaughters this whole village.
Yeah, it's a very...
No mercy. Right?
He kills an entire village.
Right? And so, and just brutally, right?
A village based on people that he grew up around. Like, he grew up probably hating the Tuscans. So it was taught behavior.
Exactly. And so, and they kill his mom, and he's just like, oh, cool, I'm gonna kill all of you. And so it's very intriguing, right? And so I'm gonna say, even though obviously, we've been taught to root for Anakin at this point in the movie. It's like, oh yeah, oh what? You jerk, you won't let him be trained? He's the chosen one.
Mm-hmm.
But like, when you really think about it, I think Mace Windu is in a lot of ways right. And they're like, hey, this might not be a good idea. And
then we have Qui-Gon Jinn, who says
Qui-Gon's just like,
he's going to be trained as a Jedi or as I will break off and start my own thing. And the Jedi really couldn't afford to lose someone like Qui-Gon, someone that they wanted on the council but refused because of the way that they thought. So it's just a really tricky situation altogether. And even when Yoda eventually agrees to train the boy, or let the boy be trained rather, it's not out of want, but the council just agrees to do it to honor Qui-Gon. And
because they're kind of like, we have this new threat now, we might actually want that power now.
Yeah, it may as well be in our hands and not back on Tatooine. Because that was what was going to happen. They were going to take the boy back to his mother. But Obi-Wan was like, well, I'm going to train the boy now, and I'm going to do it as a Jedi or not. So, really tough situation for the Jedi. They kind of had their hands tied. Not much that they could really afford to do beyond let Obi-Wan train the boy. What was the worst that could happen? And I know that we do gloss over a lot, but I think the Duel of the Fates in and of itself really is very straightforward. Like, someone was going to train Anakin. It was either going to be Qui-Gon if he survived, Obi-Wan if he survived and Qui-Gon died, or Maul. Maul would have trained Anakin if he was successful in surviving the Jedi. But he wasn't. He got really greedy. He was taunting, personal foul, taunting on the defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down, lost the team the game. And
half the distance to the goal, aka half your body.
Yeah, and lost the chosen one in the process. Initially. Eventually, all things happen for a reason, as I've been saying a lot recently. But Anakin ending up with the Jedi was meant to be, because it was his destiny. Just like I think when Qui-Gon is sat there kneeling before Maul, I think the Force is telling him, like, if you really believe in this, this is what must happen. And Anakin must be trained as a Jedi. And I think that's why he was so adamant. His dying wish, not, you know, to the Padawan he'd spent over 10 years with at that point, not, you know, thank you for being my Padawan, thank you for letting me teach you. No, train the boy. That was his dying wish, his last words. He will bring balance to the Force. So it was just really beautiful stuff. Really beautiful stuff. And what a way to lead us into the next two movies. And next week, we're going to be talking all about Attack of the Clones. I really look forward to that because I'll tell you what, that was a movie that really defined a lot for me growing up. It was the first movie that I ever saw in theaters, and it was a movie that, you know, I will always appreciate no matter what is said about it. But anything else that you want to touch on for The Phantom Menace before we get up out of here?
No, I might have to go watch it over the next week, rewatch it again. Then I might have some extra little thoughts of things I might pick out and notice for next week. But I don't what's for tonight. I'm just glad to get to sit down and just talk in depth about just one movie and just kind of its impacts. It was fun.
Absolutely.
Very excited for the next 8.
Down on the screen, guys, if you were watching the scroll, you did get to see some statistics about the movie. When it was released, its budget, how much it brought in the box office, etc. Just, yeah, keep the discussion going, though. Join the Discord to let us know how you felt about the movie. And make sure to watch Attack of the Clones before next Friday, next week, that we do the next episode of this. We love Star Wars. This is a Star Wars first podcast. Everything else doesn't really matter. Bolt's not a right-wing dork. That's just a joke, by the way, so please don't spam him with comments and stuff. He is a furry, though. But this is the Archives podcast, and we'll catch you next time.